Hello, Squeakers. Welcome to more Talking ad nauseam. Today, we are going to talk to Miss Yuffie here about a lot of things and maybe more. So, plants, plants, they can die. Confirmed. I mean, that's something we could assume, but this is confirmation that plants, they need water and they die in ad nauseam. So, Yuffie gardening is a new thing for her. Tsurine, like, Yuffie's like, oh, I've been learning how to knit. And Tsurine's like, oh, what did you do? And she's like, I got distracted with gardening. And Tsurine says, oh, you've been gardening. It's a surprise to her, meaning Yuffie hasn't messed with gardening until now, which it might be relevant because I said that thing about maybe Yuffie and Rivian doing plant stuff. Well, it seems like Yuffie only started gardening recently, and the plant interest could be way back when, or maybe it's recent, or maybe it's resurging. Who knows? So yeah, this is again confirmation that Yuffie did move out of CW. Remind me why you moved away to the most schismatic ward. What a hard fucking word to say. Yuffie claims she left to go to DG because she needed some greenery and it is pretty. And the people there are at least hopeful. This kinda, I feel like Yuffie might be lying. I mean, she grew up in Daughterfly, like that, and she doesn't talk about her childhood. I feel like this is an omission of truth, of facts. Like, yeah, she needed greenery. Yeah, it was pretty, but also I feel like there's something else going on. There's definitely a reason why. Maybe. Or I'm just too suspicious on Yuffie. I'll visit the garden sometimes. That's a nice little other name for Daughterfly Gardens. The gardens. I think my amnesia is acting up. This is if you tell Yuffie you're confused and you're blanking on things. So Tsurine, I mean, this makes sense. It can have flare-ups, I guess, her amnesia, and she's mentioning that right now she thinks it's acting up. So Yuffie says, to kind of ground us, she reminds us that we are Tsurine, which we can look really into this, or it could also mean what it means on the surface, but does this mean in the past Tsurine has forgotten who she was or thought she was someone else? You're Tsurine. Something happened to you a couple years back and left you with amnesia on the floor outside of an abandoned mall, which is over here, and Yuffie found us. I found you, picked you up, and helped you get back on your feet. So she picked us up, right? And she helped us probably get brought us to surgery. She probably helped us live with her and stuff. You got a job as a sci spec at Surly Tower. A woman named Jicca is your boss. Since the events, you've made friends with coworkers and an internet pal, Leida. Yes, coworkers. Valley. And that about sums it up. And interesting that Maves was not mentioned here, which maybe if he's just omitting it for brevity's sake, but it's interesting. Maybe Maves didn't, do this part of the job. Like maybe Maves didn't take Tsurine in and take care of her. Maves kind of did the other part, which was like the job and the Sturley part. Was that rehearsed? You had zero hesitation. First time, I was a lot more scatterbrained. The first time, yep. This is the fourth. Sometimes, so this is if we tell her that everything's just overwhelming. Sometimes I get a really vibrant, surreal dream. And the feeling I get when I awake is surreal. Feels as though I lived a whole lifetime in that dream. Almost like the dream itself was my real life, and nobody will ever know about it or understand it. I feel like a stranger in my own reality. But if you look around, you'll find that in every one of us is some escape that makes everything else feel overwhelming when we come back to it. So that's interesting. Like, obviously, this seems to just mean what it means, surface level. She's just being nice, but with dreams and living lives and dreams that feel real, makes me think of like some Renoline stuff, right? It's interesting. Yuffie says, I know what it feels like, or I know how it is to feel mentally lost, which is interesting. Does she have some kind of like condition? I mean, most people like can maybe understand that feeling, but I could be reading into it, but that's the point of this. You're unstoppable, Sue. That's what Yuffie said. You're unstoppable. which is interesting. It was a very, like I said, you're unstoppable, Sue, period. One line. Interesting. Very interesting. That's, I believe, what Cindy calls herself. I'm unstoppable, I am indomitable, whatever, all that, maybe, but it just kind of sticks out to me. And Yuffie, I've seen you crawl out of hell. That line stuck with me so much. This is probably relating to the mall thing, finding Tsurine all fucked up. So Jicca, asking about Jicca, a little by the books and robotic, you know? Yeah, that lines up with how people will view Jicca. I think she's a little more than that, but we know Jicca a bit closer than most people. No room for anything but the rules kind of deal. It's interesting that's how she's kind of viewed from the outside, a very stoic, you know, by the books girl. Which is true, but we've seen her be a little lenient and more vulnerable. You think it's all those biosthetics. She has biosthetics. Shocked. Yeah. Oh yeah. Have you seen those stomas in her arms? Now stomas, may or may not put them on the screen because I think they're a little gross looking. But they are like little holes that you get. Let me look it up real quick. Okay, so to explain, stomas, they're kind of gross, so please skip if you're eating, or I'll keep it as brief as possible. But they are little openings that are made on you surgically near your intestines, but on the on your skin, on the outside by your stomach. And they are basically a new output for any waste you have, right? The human body has. So now taking that into Adna, clearly stomas in her arms, they're not supposed to be there. They are basically outputs, right, of something. Something comes out of those. And they're in her arms, so it's not waste, it's something else. A bold-faced bet that she's strapped with giggly pixels and those scrawny things. So I think Yuffie is saying that out of her stomas come, out of these holes, these ports in your body, in Jicca's arms come these giggly pixels. So she basically has saws that she can shoot from her, like that can come out from inside her body, like retractable. They are stored in her arm. Now, giggly pixel, I feel like I've talked about this recently, but if you look, I'll put a giggly saw on screen. It's basically a very thin wire that you use to cut, and a pick is probably from pick line, which is a medical thing that they put in you, kind of like an IV. So a bunch of medical shit, an abomination of medical, like, terms and procedures and tools that kind of, in the end, summarize up to retractable saws of some kind. Every tips have some secret weapon or crazy skill. Pill guns don't cut it for their cause. You'll need one too if you want a promo. Now that you mention it, the Sterling Conduct Manual said every tips has an ace. Yes, we know this. And that could be Jicca's ace. Although the aces are supposed to be secret. Maves, your tip superior. Yes, our superior of CW. Should I say your mom? She's not my mom. Might as well be with how she treats you. So Maves treats us. She's very motherly.
Hey, really tired future Lamau Rats here editing this video. I want to bring up that I mentioned, and I may have mentioned, and I will mention again, that Maves is the tips of CW. Now, the only reason why I think this is the line that was just said, that she's our tips superior. And I don't know how else to take that, except for meaning she is the tips of CW, because we are one of the side specs of CW. But, I'm a little rusty on my Sterling knowledge. I don't really think side specs are stuck to one word either. So yeah, and also we know in D1 that Maves is the tips of foreign security or foreign affairs, something like that. I think it's security. And we know she gets USBs regarding vital constructs, and I believe there's also a USB that mentions magnaceuticals and Maves. So yeah, it seems like I don't think it's ever stated that Maves is the tips of CW, or if there even is a tips of CW. So yeah, I apologize. I don't think this information is correct. In the past, maybe, can someone be a tips of two different things? Can they be tips of CW and tips of foreign security? Maybe. Just let me know if you have any concrete information from the game. Maybe whenever I get to D1, we'll have this little thing cleared up. But yeah, for the longest time in my head, I'm like, oh, Maves is the tips of CW. But I don't think that's actually ever said in the game. It's just an assumption of what a tip superior is. And I don't really know what Yuffie means when she says that, you know? So yeah, sorry for the ramble. Holy shit, I talked for 2 minutes. Back to the video.
She paid, oh my god, I did not know this information was in the game. She paid for your surgery back when we found you roughed up outside the mall. Continue to check in with you weekly after that. So, Maves is the tips of CW, and probably during this time she was, Yuffie found Tsurine. Maves paid for it and came to check in every so often. Very motherly, very caring of a tips, right? Unless most tips do that, but I don't know, that seems very sweet. She offered you a leg in with Surly to help pay off the debt. Yup. So she's like, hey, come join Surly, it'll help you get the debt off. So, Tsurine did go into debt. That is important because there's the surgery that she got. That's one of the reasons why she joined Surly, was because of reconstructive surgery.
Hey, future Lamau Rats here once again. We're going to be looking at a little timeline I just made real quick. As you can see, on the left we have Tsurine's past. This is, who knows what happens here. We know that she has a sister and a mom. Then a week before the mall massacre, Tessa's report comes out that she's missing. And this report is a fake report. It says that she is in CW, while in reality, the real report says that she is only going to be in CW here and there, while she's actually going to be staying in MS. And Tessa's report also mentioned visiting a friend in CW, probably Tsurine. So then the mall massacre happens, and Tsurine is scotched. She is found by Maves and Yuffie, brought over to Elena, Rhonda, and I think actually 2 other people. One of them, I think it was Ferreira or whatever, a mutilist. And then Tsurine gets reconstructed in a very specific manner. She then goes into debt because of this reconstruction cost. And Maves, I don't know if this is Maves exactly, but Tsurine is prompted to join Surly to pay off the debt. Surly will handle the debt. So, Tsurine studies over 1 year to become a Psy-Spec under Jicca, I believe it is mentioned. And then, on the day that she becomes a Psy-Spec, she meets with Holocene, gets her exemption, and she is a Psy-Spec for an amount of time, and this is from the mall to here. This is 2 years, and one of those years is mostly Tsurine studying, so there's some time you can have on the left or the right where Tsurine isn't in Surly. She's just kind of recovering and hanging out with Yuffie and Leida. And then there's time after where we know Tsurine has done an audit or a few. Has done multiple audits actually. So there is time on either side, and we end up right now in the current day 2 years after, give or take a couple months, I bet. And obviously, I should have mentioned this, but during the mall massacre, Tsurine lost all her memories. So yeah, that is a little timeline of events here. Just wanted to get that concise. And yeah.
Tsurine has undergone intensive reconstructive surgery. Being able to afford this was Tsurine's main reason for joining Surly Tower. The effects were not visible, probably because of Rhonda being a Vogue artist. So, we have a little timeline here. Maves got us into Surly to help pay off the debt we incurred from that surgery I just mentioned. Maybe getting another Psy-Spec in Surly was her plan from the start. Maybe. Quite a shortage. Give her more credit than that, Squiddy. You were O-signed, Thready Pulse, and Spit in Pipes. So, O-signed is, you know, your mouth is the shape of a O. You're basically unconscious or like completely out of it. Like, if you, like imagine Serene's laying on the floor and her mouth is just like wide open because she is not there. She was thready pulse, which means she was barely conscious. Her pulse was like as thin as a thread. It was weak. And spitting pipes, we've heard about pipes, like head pipes being busted. I imagine that is like veins, blood, actual maybe pipes in your head. I don't know, stuffing, but spitting pipes makes me think she either had tubes coming out of her mouth because she was in the hospital, or she was just spitting blood or like spitting organic tissue. She gave you a whole year to get your bearings back before ever mentioning the debt. Whole year. Okay, so Tsurine was found, right? And then there's a year gap of Tsurine being free. And after that year, the debt was mentioned that Tsurine has. And we know Tsurine studied for a year. So that means Tsurine becoming a Psy-Spec is pretty recent. You know? Because we already got 1 year taken up from her being free. And then she's told about Sturley and the debt. And then she works for a year to join Sturley. Which, you know, is 2 years. But, you know, everyone says it's been 2 years, but we don't know 2 years and how much changed, right? It could have been 2 years and 6 months, right? That's what it seems like. At the start of the game, it was like, there's been a couple months since Tsurine has been a Psy-Spec. Maybe Maeve's found herself, or held herself accountable. She used to be assigned to this ward before her promotion. Okay, so Maeve's is not the tips of CW. She's the foreign affairs tips. I knew that, so I just thought she was both. But as a Psy-Spec, Maeve's took care of this place. So there's a high chance Maeve's knew Tsurine. I'm just gonna say that, like, if you're the, because I'm assuming Tsurine lived in CW pre-amnesia, but Maeve's probably maybe met her. Why me though? There's plenty of flatline bin brains in CW who could use a pick-me-up. I don't know. Flatline bin brains. We know flatline means like dead, like people who have been scotched and shit, which kind of implies that Tsurine was also scotched, which, I mean, yeah, she got reconstructive surgery. Maybe it's because of that cute face of yours. Tug on your face. Let go of me. Or maybe everyone else who was gorked was a druggie. I think this is referring to the people at the mall that were found there. Whatever happened to you was just different. The look on your face and the bag you were holding. The bag? What bag? What are you talking about? Wait, excuse me? How did this slip under the radar? What do you mean a bag? I have no idea what this bag is, but that seems important. It's the last thing Yuffie says before she moves on. Leaving you there would have been sadistic. So that bag, that's the whole thing. That's the line we get. The bag is so important, apparently. Like, what was she holding? Was it the menorah? Was that in the bag? You know, clearly she has a purse, right? But I don't think it's that. Sorry, I'm like moving in my room right now. What the hell is this bag that Sue was holding and like probably clutching that made everyone empathize with her so much? What was she trying to do? That's so interesting. A bag? It's the first time we've heard of that. Man of War. Who? I thought so. Wait. Let me guess. The weird blue lady at Sturley. I think this is Yuffie playing a little bit coy because she is in Sturley, but she doesn't want us to know. So this is her being, oh, I don't know who that is, but let me guess. Maybe it's that person at Sturley. Huh? How did you guess that? And now Serene's like, wait, how do you know that? You're a civilian. Man of War, really? Takes someone weird to have a name like that. So, Man of War is a weird name, canonically, which it is uncanonically, too. It's a strange name. So I imagine she either chose it herself, or for some reason, I don't know how names are chosen in Adna, to be honest. Like, if you're born with it or what. If we go off of that whole Piamat Quillo thing, it seems like the names are given to people. And with Ferrith wanting to be called Reth instead of Ferrith, Except you're her boss. Maybe that implies that she didn't have complete control over her name. I'm not sure. The people at Starly are pretty grounded. So Bluey, we know she's blue, sticks out like a Natatorian art show, even though I've only seen her in pictures. So Manowar's only been seen in pictures. Obviously, we know she's very elusive. Can be pretty smart sometimes. Never confuse zeal with stupidity, or confuse. Oh shit, I have stupidity, don't I? Or maybe it's zeal. Never confuse zeal and stupidity, okay? That's a banger Yuffie line. Do I even know what that means? Maybe I should like try and comprehend what she's saying. So zeal is your eagerness, right? Your reflexiveness, your haste, right? So yeah, Yuffie is very quote unquote scatterbrained. She's fast and this, and this, but that doesn't mean she's dumb. It means she's just working fast, you know? She's so smart. Just because she talks fast or says things quickly without thinking doesn't mean she's stupid. She's smart and says things fast and quickly. Elena, if I didn't think she was great, I wouldn't have brought you to her way back. Yes. So, Elena, we know this. Reconstructive surgery, that makes sense. Pinky tails mix us, so we have another mention of pink twin tails. No, I'm kidding. Even Yuffie agrees that Piamat is suspicious. She's been around CW for a while, so Yuffie does have knowledge of the people around CW. Doesn't make eye contact often, but when it does, it cuts deep. Makes me feel naked. Totally. That's a really interesting thing to point out. I mean, there's the when we meet Piamat in D0, she like grabs her hand, and it's like, is she smiling? It's like a weird look. Is that something to do with her eyes? Can her eyes do something? Does she have magic eyes too? Does she have scanner eyes? And there's like the weird, like, the eyes that appear behind her very faintly. I'm not sure. Hey, Yuffie has gamed a couple times. I've only chatted with Leida the times we've gamed, but she's gone really easy on me. I like her. I wish I could talk with her more. So Yuffie does not share much in common with Leida. So Yuffie's saying come live with me in DG, which is a crazy thing to just say. And she's doubling down. Maybe ask for a relocation. This might be influenced by Yuffie becoming a crisis nurse. Tsurine wants to stay in CW because of her past and the apartment. But Yuffie wants her to go into and like go focus on the future because the apartment's dragging her down. So this area causes anxiety within Tsurine's chest. This is kind of like the other anxiety attack. A natural vent circulates air throughout the clinic. So yeah, there's natural vents. You know this, and they circulate air all throughout the clinic. It's cool to see in the game. Also a natural light. I like how all this stuff is labeled natural. It's pretty cool. Someone removed the wires, probably to sell for scraps, sharps, copper wires, stuff like that. Or sorry, petunia. Also, it's bussin'. So Yuffie, she just said, whoa. Because it's a digipick chassis. Chassis? How do you say that? I don't know. Something like that. A shell of a digipick, okay? And Yuffie's excited about this. Which, you know, oh, it's Yuffie. She gets excited, but, you know, she likes tech. And she knows that the digipicks are illegal. And she winks, my lips are sealed. So it seems like, if I had to guess, Yuffie kind of knows what digipicks are. They're an illegal kind of lockpicking type thing. And yeah, that's super interesting that Yuffie seems to know what it is. I believe over here we can find the secret compartment. There we go. There's a false wall, just like the USB said. Someone's already unlocked it. Got it open. Whoa. Not much left inside, but a strange glass vial. Mysterious. A digipick, off-market device capable of cracking digital keypad combinations. Could be super useful. Experimental serum. No idea what this is. It was hidden. Smells strongly. Gotta be important. Experimental liquid. Medication with potent smell. Perhaps a pharmacist could identify this. So, maybe we get to send this to Piamat at some point. It probably is made by Piamat because the USB we're gonna read that you find in here references Piamat. We found some stuffing, a sample of stuffing, a pink and sparkly sample showing an aesthetic option for prosthetic guts. This one is named Gummy. Many high-end stuffing pieces are retailed to surgeons and sanatoria. The manufacturing process is often outsourced to Magnaceuticals in an effort to skirt regulation and steep cost of approved materials. Okay, so things are manufactured mostly in Magnaceuticals and then retailed to people in sanatoria. Oh my god, we have the antique skin stitch needle. A long, fine needle used to join organic materials for minimal blood loss. The ancient residents of vital constructs are now blessed with immortality. When faced with death long ago, some accepted their fate while the others grafted their bodies onto the walls of the living ward in order to postpone their fate. Could it suggest an undying hope or an old fear? So, let's break it down. We know the homonoma are not immortal. They're not blessed with it. Now, blessed. Blessed is a crazy important word here because I mentioned that maybe the immortality is given to us by Mary, right? Because we are children of Mary. So the blessed kind of implies that. So maybe these homonoma are not created by Mary. They're sinful or they're just more animalistic, right? However, when death started to hit them, some just died while others grafted their bodies onto the living ward. Vital Constructs is a living ward, whatever that means. All of the clinic is living, but a living ward makes you think more organic and fleshy, right? So they use this needle to stitch themselves into the walls so that the walls of this living ward could keep their bodies alive, right? Because if you're in this living ward and you see all this fleshy stuff, I'm assuming that's what it looks like. I'm not sure. There's probably organic matter and there's breathing, right? Just like how the clinic itself circulates air, this organic place probably circulates with organs and it has its own bioluminescence maybe, it's all architecture maybe made out of living stuff, organic stuff. Again, super speculation, but that seems to fit a medical world, right? Where's the biome that's organic? So maybe they stitch themselves into this living material that they can see bleeds and maybe it gets regeneration, right? Like the clinic itself gets regeneration, just so that they could live. So is this needle a representation of undying hope, right? Like of living at all costs? Or is it representing an old fear of death? Now, an old fear is interesting. Does that mean that us humans, the immortal ones, used to fear death? Is death a thing of the past? Interesting. Very interesting stuff here. So, this mall is locked because of the massacre that happened. But even before the massacre, the mall was abandoned. So, why was there so many people getting massacred if the mall's abandoned? All the victims were line riders. Line riders, drug addicts. So this place was used, as a shelter to do drugs and shit. An illegal drug ring site. Yeah, something like that. I briefed over the Sterling Tower records of the case. It was really nasty stuff. So for a second, Yuffie's smile dropped that this shit is pretty grotesque. Something in your gut begins to turn. So whatever Yuffie is mentioning, that kind of detail that you can't really hold a smile to talk about. The same thing's happening to the Tsurine, that this is either she's remembering it or her body's remembering it or she knows that this place is fucked. Probably we stay away, right? But if you need a haunted mall explorer pal, I'm always here. Could be fun. Okay. So why is she saying the word haunted here? She read the Sterling Tower records. It creeped her out. Her smile dropped, which is rare for Yuffie, as been mentioned many times in this disc. Yet she wants to explore it, almost saying hey, if you want to explore it, let me know. And it's haunted? I believe her. I know she's Yuffie. I know she's... But don't confuse zeal with stupidity, okay? Because Yuffie is not stupid. She has zeal, alright? I believe her. I think it's haunted. What does that mean? Is it an oddity? Is there actually paranormal entities? We've heard of like some fringe things in D1, like bedlams or whatever. They sound kind of weird and supernatural. Um, like there's a lot of, and then It and I, right, mentions haunting stuff, which is in CW, an abandoned part of CW. So whether hauntings are supernatural or they're oddities, maybe it's one of those things that get confused, right? They talk about animals and plants and oddities and living oddities, and no, they're all so similar, right? Because so many of these factions have such crazy abilities, right? The plants can fucking move. The oddities, the muzzle, like, can make you feel numb. And what the hell is a living oddity? What is a primal? What is the beyond? And I could see, seeing a weird creature and not knowing what it is, right? It could be a plant, it could be an animal, it could be this. And then there's whatever the fuck is in the D2 trailer, right? Anyway, what I'm saying is, I think Yuffie knows that the mall is haunted, or that knows that there's something fucked up in here. She read the records, and now she's calling it haunted. And she's a little intrigued. Maybe she kind of understands why people were actually in here, because I don't think it stops at drug use, right? Maybe the drugs they were using allowed them to commune with Providence or something, right? Like Epime talks about. And what Jicca talks about with something being under this mall of Lasca. And keep in mind that Lasca is very old, and keep in mind we just found a fucking needle that dates back to the Homonoma and Vital Constructs in CW. A lot to think about. This place feels old. Your idea of fun is really weird. Yeah, see, Tsuриne's pointing it out. Hey, Tsurine. Yeah? Didn't we first meet near here? So near here. Maybe not this room, but specifically near this room. I don't recognize the area. This is totally the place. Okay, maybe this is the place. Slumped over on the floor. I'm still hazy about it. Look at you now, though. Full on size spec. I'm genuinely really proud of you. Come so far. Haha. Thanks. So we do find USB 5, Dr. Keaty's, which mention stuff regarding the sensorium and consciousness and immortality, animals, all this wonderful stuff. We find it, I believe, with the next to the antique skin stitch needle, which is interesting. Very interesting that the girl who goes to Vital Constructs leaves this here, either with this needle or next to the needle. Very interesting. I leave this departing message and the reasoning with you. She left this here for someone. That's super interesting. Keep it a secret. Of course, we had the USBs about Junie. Lovely ones. Boldera is involved with a lot of drama. Whoever this Junie person is, someone wants Junie back. And then, of course, we have this USB, which is our reward for finding the false wall. That was talking about the valet and the keys and the stretching table. This is a continuation. I've been doing standard issue stabilizers frequently to patients at work. I think there's quite a few worthwhile side effects we've been overlooking. So, giving standard stabilizers to patients at work. From a junior preceptor. I believe I looked up what that was. Let me give it another look. Preceptor is a mentor of medical practice for people learning, basically. Kind of like a teacher. So they've been doling out standard issue stabilizers to patients. And noticing some side effects. They're also a pharmacist. I've experimented with alternatives. I've hit a wall. I think there's simply a fundamental issue with the class of drug as a whole. We're sedating people en masse. It's undoubtedly a major cause. It's not the primary source of Sanatoria's depression epidemic. So, the stabilizers are fucking with people. They're sedating them, giving them depression, making them all sleepy-deepy, you know? I sent a bunch of letters across 2 seasons to the Retainer of Providence, which is Jicca, unless this is older, and have not received any replies or heard of any standard practice changes. Either Providence is dead, this epidemic is intentional, or Surly is desperate and obtuse enough to rely on such a flawed bandage and not tell us the reason. Well, we know Providence is sick, right? So, does Jicca get these letters? Probably. Maybe it's a bit of both, where Providence is sick, so it's hard to get an answer, and it is a flawed bandage. It's not the best, but it's something. There must be an alternative. I know for a fact you've been testing your own for a long time, since you left employment in an MS Children's Center. So this is about Piamat. This is after Piamat has left, the vanishing case with the MS Children's Center. So this person's leaving Sanatoria to go to a facility run by the elusive pioneer, Dr. Malice. Which is, we know Malice Cancer's Institute is in Magnaceuticals. I urge you to work with me, Piamat. Surely use an intricate mind like yours. The years of research you've accumulated. You're an impressive woman. I know your work is for personal reasons. Surely save the clinic here if you risk your pharma license. You'll certainly get it back once Providence sees the fruit of our labor anyway. Take one for Sanatoria. Suck a brain rot pill, lose my address, bitch. Maddie. So this USB was left here after they got a reply from Maddie, and they left it here for Dr. Malice, I believe, with an experimental tincture. Which, that's interesting. Is this something that they made? Maybe it's an experimental stabilizer? Who knows? Hey, I forgot to record an outro, I guess. Maybe expect another video soon. Working hard on D2 content with Liza every day, so I don't have much time for this kind of stuff, but I'm not complaining. It's my goal and dream and the most fun thing ever to work on D2 on adna stuff. It's so cool. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you think a lot about adna. If you want to talk about it, tell me in the comments. Tell me in the Discord, just talk about it, because as you can tell, and get ready to pog at this one. As you can tell, I love talking ad nauseam. Yes, I said the frickin' thing, everyone applause. Thank you. Okay, enough clapping, come on. Get your shit together. It's the end of the video. Sorry. Good night. Or goodbye. I'm being silly, being funny. Okay. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll do another one soon. I really want to. And yeah, have a good time. Bye bye. End the video.